The lightning.
And we are live with hashtag Jeopardy live panel. Once again, I am Andy Saunders. I am the moderator of tonight's discussion. This is April 25th, 2016, taping at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Also, if you or also for subscribing on iTunes. If you're tuning in on the podcast later on, we might as well get straight into introducing the panel this evening. First up, I am going to I'm going to go in order. I don't even know if I can go in. David, how many times have you been on? Because I know this is
Zero.
Aria's. Pardon me.
I thought you meant on Jeopardy.
on live
many
panel,
Aria.
David.
Not as many as Aria, no.
Okay.
I have
Well,
to
this
count.
is David Kendall. Once
Hi.
again, J-Board moderator, J-Archivist. Thanks for joining us once again. Also on our panel tonight, Aria Gerson,
Hi.
I believe it's her 10th time on the panel.
I think so.
And finally, we've got Sarah Edwards, audio only at this point. She's having some technical difficulties with the video, but that's okay. We can still hear you.
Yay!
She was on last Monday's episode against Andrew Powell, who was certainly the big story of the week. We're obviously taping this on Monday. If you're on the eastern half of the country, you obviously know what happened. If you are on the West Coast, you probably don't know what happened yet, so we're not going to speak of it. We're kind of going to dance around the issue. So we're going to probably end up dancing around the issue a little bit anyways.
Okay.
So I guess, the big story gameplay-wise, obviously, was Andrew. If you have any comments for the panel, by the way, you're always welcome to leave a tweet for us, hashtag Jeopardy live panel, and if I like it, I will generally read them out. So yes, Andrew, the big story of the week, the very long time since a 5-day champion has finally over. Andrew, of course, the first 5-time champ since Matt Jackson. Now, Sarah, you obviously...
Long national nightmare is over.
Sarah, you obviously were part of his taping group for both, because you were the alternate from the previous week, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, the second day filming was my day.
Yes. So, obviously, you spent 2 days taping with him, lots of time in rehearsal. What was the... Were you expecting to see this run out of him?
I wasn't surprised, really. Obviously he was very, very smart, very good with the buzzer, so no, I'm not surprised.
Okay. Let's see. So not because obviously he didn't in his Friday game, his first game against McKinney and Margaret. He didn't get in until he got in like twice in the Jeopardy round. And
yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, and then he found the buzzer, and that's all you got to do sometimes is find the buzzer, and that's Now, what's it like being an alternate, I guess? Were you happy to come back the second day, or would you rather gone the earlier on?
I don't know. It was weird because I was terrified of having to face Margaret. Like, I was just all day going, please, 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 no. Because just you could tell she was just so smart and so ready for it. I think actually going the second day was better for me because I got to sit through like the morning briefing again. I got to rehearse again. So, and I was more comfortable because I got to watch 5 whole shows and then, sleep. So, I was fine.
Now, you were obviously got called up in the Monday game. Now, who was were you the only alternate, or was there another one?
No, Nikhil was also left over from the first day.
Okay.
And then
ended
there
up on
was
Wednesday's show.
Yeah, because like I guess they try to get you in the first part of the day if you've had to stay over. And I hadn't met anyone from this past week's, until that morning.
Okay.
So it was kind of interesting, just the three of us kind of just sitting through it, again, and everyone else was fresh and kind of terrified.
Yep.
So yeah, I think waiting till the second day actually can be a better thing, really, for you.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying with that for sure, because you're obviously, again, you're getting that extra time on the buzzer. You're getting that, you've been through the studio experience, so it's not as intimidating.
Right.
And, you have an idea of what you're up against. And to be brutally honest, I think there was absolutely no coincidence that Ken Jennings' streak was ended by somebody who had been a studio alternate prior, that being Nancy Zerk.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was actually an alternate, and this was her second time at the studio, and she had mentally prepared herself for expecting to play Ken, knowing
Well, and she
that
got
she
to
had
watch
been,
him play too, his style.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's neat.
Yeah. So obviously you got called in to play on Monday. You really took it to him.
Thanks.
You had the True Daily Double in the Jeopardy round. You had the bet of 5,000 and another Daily Double in the
I
in Double
almost did
Jeopardy.
more. I'm so mad at myself for not doing more, though.
Okay. Actually, ironically enough, that was my question. Had you given thought to betting more? But
Well, at that point, I was so like, I remember being at home screaming, coward at the TV when people don't go big. But then I was running through all the portmanteau words that I knew in my head, going, "We've seen most of them. Oh my God, what do I do?" So it was just more of a spaz out. I don't know, spit out a number and hope for the best. Which bit me, obviously.
Well, I mean, it was a $2,000 clue, and it was a tough clue, so.
That's very true. It's a lot more difficult to come up with, calibrate a wager for the $2,000 level than say an $800 Daily Double.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you were bouncing and like you had already been in the category, got the harder ones.
Yeah.
But I have noticed a lot of times that they don't really set the Daily Double difficulty based on the clue value. I have noticed easy $2,000 Daily Double and hard ones. So yeah, they do that, I guess, for a reason.
And I think it depends on the category too. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or if it's a category like the New England States and there's only one left, well, it might be a bit easy to some.
Yeah. When a lot of times it's in categories where it's really like you either are gonna know this cold or you're gonna have no idea. Like that Latin American capitals or whatever that one was. Like,
that was so painful sitting in the audience floor. Oh, it was so, you're like, oh, just please make it end. And people beside me in the contestant pool were like, we know that, it's the wrong game.
Yeah, it broke the geography geeks' heart to watch the Central American capitals go down like that. I mean, I understand if you're not into geography, it was hard, but I mean, I've been into it for like 35 years. It was hard for me to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, I would again say there are always those categories that people would love to see in their game. I mean, Carter was tweeting earlier about the one of the categories up in his wheelhouse in the game specifically today about there was a college football category, for example.
Oh.
He would have been he seemed. I'm guessing he would have been very happy to have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sad there were no Bible or Shakespeare's in my game. I was ready for that.
I don't remember which game had the Olympics athletes category, but that is right in my wheelhouse. And so every time that comes up, like a lot of times people miss it. I'm like, I want that category. Give me that one.
Yeah.
They hardly ever give you a wheelhouse category when you play. I know it's all random in selection, and they couldn't even if they wanted to, but the fates just never align that way, I've noticed. Unless it's like Ken Jennings and you play so many games, you gotta hit it.
I just have to be happy that they gave me a math category and an American history. I'll take what I can get. But
So, after your game, did you stay?
No, my mom was like, please, I'm so tired. I want to go do something else. So we left, and, well, I mean, poor thing. I mean, she'd been sitting in the studio, you know, just, is it, okay, no, it's not her game. Oh, no, you know, so she was like, oh my God, just get it over with. So we were just kind of tired at that point, so we left and, you know, went to the movies afterwards, because we didn't get to do much, you know, we were just there for the 2 days. But it was fun to watch it and not know what was happening, though, the rest of the week. I've enjoyed, you know, that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Andrew, he put up a in one respect a record-tying performance on Tuesday against with running. He ran 4 categories, and
oh yeah, that was
crazy.
something.
Nobody outside of Ken Jennings has done that. At least as best as I can tell. Which I would say, I guess, do we think that makes him the favorite for the Tournament of Champions at this point?
Well,
we've seen.
I mean, given that there's like not really a ton of other front runners right now, I mean, he's the only 5-time champion, so yes. But I mean,
I would say Tim, maybe. I mean, obviously.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Tim had a lot of.
He was pretty good. Yeah.
Had a lot of correct responses during his games, and basically barely lost in his attempt at number 5. If Nikki hadn't had her fever, had her massive fever in the college championship, and I probably would have considered her the favorite had she won. But I'm not. To be honest, you know what? I hope Sam proves me wrong, but I really feel as though he has an outside chance to make the finals, but that's probably about it.
Yeah. I don't recall college people really doing too well in the TOC. I may be wrong, but I can't remember too many going to the finals.
Cliff Gallagher was a finalist. If I'm not mistaken.
It makes a lot of sense though, because like when you think about it, like a college student who knows pop culture versus like someone older, like the TV shows and the songs and the movies that they're gonna know are like totally different from what the adults are gonna know. And so like if they come up with a category that's like 70s music or 80s music, like the college students are too young for that, and so like that puts them at a pretty big disadvantage there.
The college championship is always geared more towards college pop culture, which I feel is a little unfair because technically they put it in there because college kids would know that. You want to challenge their knowledge a bit, but if they've been doing really good on the tournament based on college pop culture, and then all of a sudden they get 1960s cinema, yeah, it's a culture shock.
You know, again, I I'm very loath to be all like, oh, the college champs are all only win because of the pop culture. That really, I really don't. I really feel
Well,
as
yeah,
though
I
that's very
definitely
condescending
don't think
towards
that's
the
true.
college tournament. So,
Like,
Well, but they do have a lot of pop culture in it. Whether they win or not because of that, I'm not going to say. But they do have a lot of
they
pop
don't
culture
have
in
as
it.
much as you think. They really don't have as much.
I actually I remember watching the college championship, and I thought there was a really good balance of like pop culture and academic stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm probably like closer to the right age. Like I think if you don't know this stuff, then you're more likely to think that there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
True.
So,
That's probably
like
why
I think there was like a
there.
good
So I'll
balance when
defer
I
to
watched
you
it.
on that. I'll defer to you on that.
But like when it comes to pop culture stuff, there is that age difference, which is just like the difference, I think.
So, I consider myself fortunate that you were an alternate because it means you did get the opportunity to enjoy a lunch at the Sony commissary, as it were, Sarah. So I get to ask you, what was your lunch choice?
So that's really, really sad. I'm actually doing a weight management clinic thing, and the first 12 weeks was a fast. So, and that fell right in the middle of my trip, and my doctors were like, no, you may not eat anything when you go out there. So I just got 3 bottles of water, and I made my little protein shakes and ate my little bars, and really, really wanted to take Andrew's salad away from him. So, yeah. I got to smell everybody's lovely food and not eat any of it.
So Andrew was team salad. Okay, good to know.
Yes, I know. He sat beside me with this just gorgeous salad that I was just like, that looks and smells so very good. And I had to laugh because I remember that he had arugula in it, and that was like one of his clues like the very next day. And I'm just like, damn.
You know,
people
that actually kind of reminds me of. So I mean, you are the second person to come on Jeopardy live panel, and your lunch choice was nothing. So the other one, of course, Philip Tew. They forgot about his lunch.
Oh, wow. Aw.
So let's see here. In other Jeopardy-related news this week, NBC Sports Network has picked up Sports Jeopardy.
Yeah,
Yay.
I heard about that, and like they said they were going to air it right after the Olympics, which I think is a really great time because I definitely remember staying up like all until midnight when the Olympics broadcast ended, and then oh, it's Sports Jeopardy, like people might actually watch it then.
I think that also from what I've heard from how there was another press release that came out, and how I have managed to parse it. The episodes, as far as I can tell, good news for Canadians, the episodes will still be on Crackle.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's good too.
Yes. Which means I will still be...
I was going to say, I like that it's on an actual network to get people to actually watch it instead of just being on Crackle, because a lot of people, what's Crackle? Never heard of it. So,
it's...
I have no idea. Sports Jeopardy,
It's funny because part of me wonders how much of this was in the pipeline actually, and maybe because one of the Sports Jeopardy panels, this actually came up, basically a discussion as to why is Sports Jeopardy not on NBC Sports Network. So I think it's quite interesting to see, a month and a half later, oh, interesting, NBC Sports Network has picked up Sports Jeopardy. But
So
now my question to Aria and Sarah, I don't know how much you're into sports, but you are Americans. How popular is this NBC Sports Network in the States? I mean, I've heard of ESPN, but I'm not too familiar with NBC Sports Network. Is this relatively popular among sports fans?
I mean, Like, it
They have
depends
hockey.
on what you're watching, like what sport, because usually there's like specific channels that you watch based on what sports.
Yeah.
But the reason NBC Sports is significant is because NBC owns exclusive rights to the Olympics in the United
Yeah.
States. So if you're going to watch the Olympics, you have to watch it on NBC. And so people watch NBC Sports Network like
on NBC
during
Main
the
Network
Olympics.
or NBC Sports? Is it on NBC Main Network or Sports?
Both.
The
Like the main
Yeah.
one, it has like the primetime block and stuff, but if you want to watch like stuff, you
The
know,
nit
not
stuff.
wait to prime time to watch it, or you want to watch like obscure events, you go on NBC Sports.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of what they do up here in Canada too. I forget who has broadcast rights, whether it's CBC or CTV or whatever, but they usually do most of it on the sports network, whatever, CBC, CTV, and then some of it on the primetime block in the main network.
Except the only difference is our events are a lot more live than yours are. But,
Yes. And they cover a lot more than just the American athletes. I know I've watched the NBC feed, and it's like, are there any other countries competing?
Yeah. Yeah, let's not get into a nationalist discussion about the Olympics.
Oh, believe me, no problem here.
I am going to. I feel as though I'm going to move things away from that slightly.
Oh, so I
This
have a
week in
random Jeopardy
Okay, go
news
ahead.
thing that I saw. Cerulean, remember him from Kids Week? Like
Yes.
last year, he's gonna be in the National Spelling Bee.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Cool.
Ooh.
Like I just saw that today, and I was like super excited because you know he's kind of a fan favorite. So
yes.
I kind of want to watch him there.
If they have a Kids Week reunion,
Maybe the Jeopardy. Maybe the Jeopardy fan will have to cover the spelling bee this year. I've already been convinced to cover 500 questions. Moving on to this week in Jeopardy history, Julia Collins' run started around this time a couple of years back, and kind of got me thinking. It seems like long runs seem to be more commonplace as you go later in the season. You know, obviously Ken Jennings, Dave Madden, Julia, Arthur. The only really long run that was a fall one was Matt Jackson. And I wonder if we have any idea as to why that is, why the long runs generally haven't happened in the fall, but they seem to happen a lot more in the spring.
Maybe that's why they're giving me the call right now. They want to put me in a long run.
It might be like a fluke, or it might be like I feel like usually there's a lot of tournaments going on in the fall and stuff. Like they always put stuff during like November sweeps, and sometimes they will have stuff in December and stuff like that. So it breaks up like a lot of those games. You know, so I think there's more people that just play in the spring anyway, like regular games. So that might be part of it. I don't really know.
Okay.
I think my theory is they obviously can't tell who's going to go on a long run, even based on auditions and stuff, because anything could happen, of course.
Yeah.
But they might have an idea of who might go on a long run based on how they perform. I remember when Ken Jennings auditioned, they wrote a big "call this guy immediately" on his piece of paper. And they might want to put these guys on during the time when they want to have sweeps and people talking about it. Sweeps period.
Okay.
It's just a theory.
What about you, Sarah?
I have never even considered this.
Okay.
Me neither.
I'm sorry. I'm such a bad Jeopardy nerd. I'm realizing that now. I'm like, wow, I thought I loved the show. Apparently I was wrong. I know nothing.
Oh no, I would hardly say that. You got on the show. That's you know.
I mean, you already you've been in the studio, so that's more than half our panel.
Yeah.
So speaking of long runs, my next topic of discussion is a bit of a preview of tomorrow's episode. Alex Jacob, about 15 minutes before I went live, tweeted out regarding one of tomorrow's contestants. Jerry Vinokurov is one of tomorrow's challengers. Let me just bring up the exact text of Alex's tweet, but as Alex has said, let's see here. Eyes on Jerry on Jeopardy tomorrow night. He has the Quiz Bowl pedigree of Matt Jackson plus like 10 years of life experience. Dangerous.
Oh.
Promising.
That
when you get
which
an
also
endorsement
has
from Jacob, it means something, yeah.
Yeah, like
Alex Jacob also said watch out for Bill Patschak, and we all know how that ended. So,
Like-
you know,
I think it's like might be exciting, but at the same time, like there's so many times that I've seen like someone, oh look at this person's like Learned League stats and tweet it out, and then the person like doesn't win, and like even in Quiz Bowl, like the buzzing in Quiz Bowl is a lot different from buzzing on Jeopardy, because in Quiz Bowl you like buzz as soon as you know the answer,
Right.
and so like in Jeopardy it's like actually a timing thing, so it's not guaranteed that even if you have that Quiz Bowl experience, like you're gonna be good at buzzing in.
Yes, I completely agree with Aria. We have before I start. David, can I sorry? Just 1 second. I'll get you in a second. There's a tweet on the hashtag about this. Jonathan Graham was, what do you think the likelihood of Jerry V winning 5 or more games is? I'd put it at 75% due to the randomness of Jeopardy. Go ahead, David.
Yes.
I'll let you go, and then I have something I'd like to say.
You might have known what I was going to talk about, because that's a perfect lead-in. I was going to say, there could be a Bill Patschak or Scott Blish or somebody that everybody knows that some people say are going to do really good in that, but on the other hand, if anybody who's been on J-Board can one part luck. So whether you're going to go on a big run or not, I mean, everybody there has the knowledge, but there's a lot of luck involved, and this person might not get anything.
So Jonathan Graham has pegged Jerry's chances of winning 5 games at 75%. And I would just like to say, Jonathan, my prediction, I would put Jerry's chances of winning 5 or more games at this point probably closer to 15%.
I was going to say 20, so.
I'm going to go with 15. The chances, ironically enough, I've been calculating this out recently. In order to have a 75% chance of winning 5 games, you need to be a 94% favorite in each of your 5 games. Multiply through to get you to 75. I would hardly call any new player a 95% favorite to win a game of Jeopardy.
I don't think even Ken Jennings would have.
No, not even
I don't
Ken
think he was
Jennings.
95. Like
maybe later in his run, but not when he was starting.
No, exactly.
I mean, he almost lost his first game, so.
Yeah.
Like.
We all know that story. Yeah.
And I mean, like, there's so much about like the categories too, like.
Well,
maybe
exactly.
Who gets the
Sarah,
daily doubles? Like Buzzy showed he could be aggressive with the daily doubles, so.
It's just another factor of luck.
Sarah, what were your like? I mean, if somebody had said to you, "Oh, you're a 75% chance to win 5 games," what would you have said to them?
What makes you think that? And can I borrow your calculator? I don't know. Like, I'm just like, why would you even like? Why? I don't know.
Yeah, like
how do you even think about that? I'm learning. I am not a numbers person.
After like I'd already taped, I got voted the most likely to win 20 straight weeks on Jeopardy by my class, and I was like, no, just no, for so many reasons.
I guess.
Well, maybe when
were
Anderson
on
Cooper
senior.
starts hosting, you can come back. So it could still
Were
come
you
true,
on
Aria.
Team Jeopardy or College Jeopardy, something like that, Aria?
I was on Kids Week like several years ago.
You were on Kids Week, yeah, so you could
Yeah.
have even won 20 games even if you...
Yeah, I know. It was like actually like something like the third game that they did on J-Board, I think. Like it was right after that it was started.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, do you have any random questions, Sarah?
I don't know. I guess like, what's everyone's like first real memory of the game, or like, what made you clearly fall in love with it so much?
Ooh, I've never asked that question before. I think I.
That is
You know what, Sarah?
Tournament of panelist material.
I need to add that to my repertoire of questions. That's a great question.
You do.
Me, when did I realize that I was? It's always been part of my life because my dad watched it when
Mm-hmm.
we were, growing. I was like, I was a year old when the Trebek Jeopardy came back, and my dad would watch it, and it's just, it's an institution, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been in it's kind of like I couldn't imagine life without it, and
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, that's a lot better than my. I mean,
What's your answer, Aria?
I guess. So I mean, Jeopardy, was kind of something that we sometimes watched. If it was on and we were wanting to watch TV. The first concrete memory I have, I mean, it surely wasn't the first time I watched it, but first concrete memory I have was I was maybe 9-ish, and we turned on Jeopardy, and like it was the college championship that was on. And I don't even remember like which college championship or like what year it was, but it was it was kind of cool to watch the college version. Obviously, it was probably like slightly better at that than the adult ones because I was like 9. But then I really like fell in love with it, I guess, because after I took the online test just kind of on a whim, but then after I actually got the audition email, I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, you know what, I should study. So I started watching it regularly, and then I started going through all the J Archive games and stuff, and that was when I really was like, this is so cool,
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah?
Well, yeah, kind of like you. I mean, I remember one of my earliest memories is, sitting on the floor in front of my grandparents' big console TV with an Eskimo pie watching Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I was born in '83, so I must have been really, really small, I guess. And then we had, like, the old video Nintendo game. And I remember playing that with my uncles and beating them when I was just a kid with it, so... Yeah, it's just always been there, and I've always enjoyed watching it, and you can always come back to it, and it's like you've never left.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think pursuant to that, I think Jerry Shaw on Twitter mentioned this last week when she started watching again. She found because Jeopardy gets live streamed up here, and I think she cord cut. But no, she was like, it's like reuniting with an old friend when you come back to watching Jeopardy. And,
yeah, I have a story about that too, because I had stopped watching it for a little while, maybe like 3 years ago-ish. Like I hadn't watched regularly in like 6 months or something, and what lured me back was actually like the Battle of the Decades. And so when the 80s week came on, like I watched that, and then like that was when then Arthur 2 was on, and like so that kind of like sucked me right back in, and then came like Julia Collins and the rest of the Battle of the Decades, and then I was like right back into the habit, like I never stopped.
I know I've been in love with trivia and knowledge and all that kind of stuff since I was little. I don't remember I'm sure I watched Jeopardy as a kid, although I don't really remember it. My earliest clear memory of watching it actually was when I heard the buzz about Ken Jennings, and I started watching him. And I remember thinking, okay, come on, I got to watch it until at least this guy loses.
Yeah.
And my son was born during his run. I still watched it every single day, including the day that he was born. And it's funny, on November 30th, my son had some major health issues. He had to be sent to the hospital with him overnight, and back then we didn't really have a VCR or anything, so figured, okay, I'll miss this one game, come back. What? There's somebody new in the channel? I actually missed it, but I did tell myself, hi, but I did tell myself that I'd watch it until he won. I'm talking. Until he won, and then so I kind of drifted off after that, but then after a while I figured, you know what, I should go on Jeopardy. I should find out ways to do that, and I found the J board. It was on Sony, hosted by Sony at the time, and I found this great community of people who were more than willing. Yeah, I've been on the show. I got great information for you to how to succeed to get on the show, and that's kind of when I started falling in love with Jeopardy again, and watching pretty much every day just by interacting with the fan community. The fan community drew me in and made me love the show again.
By the way, if you're listening and want to share your story about how you fell in love with Jeopardy, please do so. Use the hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel. Jerry is actually listening to us tonight, so tuning in. So she just tweeted at us, when you get a shout out on hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel heart. So yeah, I'm sure that we'll probably get a few, or even if you're watching or listening later and want to share the story, I'll probably end up reading some out on our next live panel. Tentatively scheduled for Saturday evening, but I'm not going to confirm that until tomorrow. In any case, I'm at the point where, does anyone on the panel have any other random questions for anyone else on the panel?
So
I'm good. I'm having fun. Yay.
I really like that question of yours, Sarah. That's definitely one I am going to add to future live panels for sure, because that's to be honest, I think that's going to be as it may be as anticipated as the "What did you have for lunch?" So
invite people back, because I'd really like to know other past panelists' answer to that.
New tournament idea.
Clearly, we love it, and
clearly there needs to be
there's got to be a story there.
I think every big Jeopardy fan has that, here's where I fell in love with Jeopardy. So.
Yay.
So, in any case, here's the I hear crickets part. So, for
I got nothing.
That's okay. Hey, that's perfectly fine. By the way, coming up on the site this week, there's I am going to release my methodology for how I have managed to come up with some of my predictions recently in terms of how, what percentage, somebody's percent chance of winning, how many games they may win, as a kind of a teaser for that. In order for Jerry, or anyone, for Jerry Vinokurov, or anyone for that matter, to have a 75% chance of winning 5 games, their average Coriat score will need to be in the neighborhood of 24,600. So, whether or not anyone is capable of doing that might be very difficult, especially in one's first 5 games. Obviously, Ken gets up there. People like Ken Jennings got up there during, in the middle of his run. But in order to be 75% to win, Sorry, go ahead.
What kind of Korean score should you have when you're tracking it at home to even get on the show? Do you think?
Oh
I
boy.
know Carl himself has it, but I want to know what your number is.
I don't track. See, the thing is, I am so busy tracking I'm so busy charting the game out for the contestants that I have a column for myself, but I don't. There's a lot of the time where I'm just trying to keep up with the force bounce that the contestants are doing.
I've noticed people who bounce and can force bounce also, I think, have a greater chance of going 5 games as well.
Well, there's a lot more volatility in the daily. There's a lot more volatility in the daily doubles, and you can find them and then miss them, and.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you could, but it just seems to me that the people who can do a forced bounce well, like I've seen people forced bounce and have a bite them in half, but those who can do it well tend to be some of the game's great players too.
True, but again, you have to be able to do it well, and not very many people can.
More people think
and
they
can
do it well than that. We can, yeah.
And if you're not getting it on the buzzer, it's hard to tell if you're trying to bounce because
exactly.
Don't get in often enough.
Yeah, even to have a $25,000 Coriat on the show, you have to be dominating on the buzzer.
Yeah, show Coriat is a lot different from at-home Coriat.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Because the average Coriat around
at home,
it's basically 24/6 is. That's 2 standard deviations, if not 3, above the mean. So. In any case, if you're not a fan of numbers, I apologize for all the numbers I've thrown at you tonight on Jeopardy Live Panel.
I'll just take them all. I love statistics.
It's educational.
I'm sure
I'd like to thank
Williams' site, so if you're a fan of Keith Williams, you like numbers.
Well, in any case, I'd like to thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Also, thank Sarah, David, and Aria for joining me, actually on the panel tonight. Hopefully, I can get. Fun. Yeah, I hope I can get all of you back on at some point. Interestingly enough, I am in favor of having people back on Jeopardy Live. So, please, even if you're a past panelist and are listening, just send me a heads up. It's be like, hey, Andy, keep me in mind for future panels. I really like that. So it makes my job a lot easier to find people, that's for sure.
My story of how I fell in love with Jeopardy.
Yes, that's excellent. So for here, everyone, thank you to Aria, David, and Sarah, and to everyone who tuned in. For everyone here at Jeopardy Live Panel, if you're on the iTunes, you're going to hear the credits very shortly. Otherwise, you're going to see them on the screen right there. Thank you very much for tuning in, for taking part. I'm going to stop the broadcast now. Have a great night.